Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Pound for Pound Show, episode number 13. It's amazing we haven't been kicked off the internet yet, but we're going to try again this week and see what happens. So, as always, I am Phil, and joining me today are Russ and Ben. To talk about, we're going to recap UFC 257 and then kind of do a deep dive into the 155-pound division as it's looking pretty crazy. So, without further ado, let's get into the fight that everybody's been talking about for quite some time. A shocking result to many, but not to me and Ben. Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor. Dustin Poirier getting it done in round 2 with a TKO. So I'm going to throw it to Russ first to kind of break down the fight. Tell us what you saw and how it went down for everybody.
Well, I'm very disappointed in the result. First of all, even though I am a Poirier fan, I like Poirier a lot. I root for him against almost everybody, but Conor's pretty much my favorite dude in the UFC nowadays. And he got KO'd violently, and it just was very painful to watch. This one hurt way worse for me than the Nate Diaz one or even the Habib one, because just seeing your dude knocked out is rough. But I mean, you got to give all credit to Poirier and Mike Brown with the game plan they came up with. It was unbelievable. You know, like he did a trip early on, gave him something to think about there, and then those calf kicks just wrecked his leg. And finished him in the second. First round, Conor looked okay, but he landed a couple shots and felt the power and was like okay with it this time. So it just it looked bad pretty early on. You know, once he felt that power. He landed a left, like a check hook back, and like he gave him the finger point of doom, and just it seemed like it was going downhill pretty quick. I mean, I don't know. I have a lot of I want to say reasons, not excuses, for the Conor loss, but I think, like he said, the inactivity is just like huge. Like you got to be more active in there. That was one big thing. The game plan, like the calf kicks, just not adjusting at all. Like his leg was dead. You seen it after like one round. So he's got to adjust to that. Like God forbid he fights Gaethje. But yeah, I mean that's a couple reasons for the loss. The third reason I think is like I think he has to be like more of a wild man, like coming into it. I don't think like this new mature Conor is gonna work that well. Like it's like I think it's Rocky 3. Like Mick tells Rocky, says like, the worst thing happened to you. You became civilized. Like you got to be like a crazy like madman. Like I think he tells him that when he's like about to fight Mr. T. Like, yeah. And that's Conor now. He's very civilized. He's happy hanging out with his kids on fight week. It just, I don't know, a lot of things wrong. And I think like next for Conor, it has to be Nate Diaz or nothing. It has to be the trilogy fight with Nate Diaz. You have to fight somebody else who's been inactive. You can't go in there. Don't even think about going against Gaethje. I don't think Poirier, a third fight, is the fight to make right now. It's got to be Nate. That's the only fight that makes sense. Maybe Tony Ferguson, because he's lost his last couple as well. So
yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself, Russ. Dustin came in with the perfect game plan. Unlike you, though, I am very satisfied with the result. Dustin's one of my favorite fighters in the world. And we watched it together. You know my reaction. I was I was through the roof. I think I woke up some neighbors with how loud I was screaming.
Yeah, he started just jerking it in the middle of the living room.
That does good. He goes a little
it's
hard.
It's not because I'm a Conor hater. I like Conor, but I love Poirier. So, yeah. But like you said, Russ, Dustin had the perfect game plan. Conor, yeah, he was inactive for. He's fought. This was his fourth fight in 4 years. So, I mean, and Dustin's put in, I think I seen a stat the other day. It's Dustin had put in, I think 60 minutes of cage time, or 40 or 60 minutes of cage time to Conor's like 60 seconds in the past few years. So yeah, Dustin was the better man that night. It's 1-1. Just a perfect performance. Conor actually looked good in the first though. That's the thing. But then here's the thing. I think when things don't go Conor's way, I think he withers, like I think he expected to end it in the first, and then he's seen that Poirier can take his power now, unlike before. And that kind of got to him. And then Poirier clipped him, got him against the cage, and put it on him, finished him. Beautiful performance by Poirier. Very happy with it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. I won't get too deep into it because we've got a lot to talk about at 155. And while I am have gone on record and I am not the world's biggest Conor McGregor fan, I'm not a huge fan of kicking people while they're down. So I'm not going to bury the guy too bad. I think everything you guys said is pretty accurate. And again, I and it's hard to say because, it almost sounds like you're insulting the guy and I don't want to, but it's, when you arrive to a fight on a 300-foot yacht, how hungry can you be to win fights? You're a different guy than when, you're a $50,000 payoff is the most money you've ever seen in your life, and to now, like, is it even possible to stay as hungry as he was? And, it's, and he spent a lot more time in the cage. He's had a lot more fights. And I think people have been able to adjust some. I think, Dustin, a part of that game plan was to take away that power, that straight left right away. And he's like, you went out and immediately took that left leg out from underneath him. And when Conor can't plant that foot and throw those really violent punches, a lot of what makes him so special is taken away. So it's really tough. So I think he's really going to have to go back and, not completely reinvent himself, but I think he's going to have to make some adjustments to his game plan and, start showing some people some new stuff. But it'll be curious to see what's next for him. We won't get into that right now because we'll save that for our big 155 discussion where one of us might blow a gasket at some point, but that'll be interesting to say the least. So, but yeah, I would be remiss to not just, again, Poirier literally had the picture perfect game plan. He went out and executed 100% what he had to do. And I think the 4 years that between the two fights, like Dustin is, a very different guy at 155. He takes punches a lot better. Just a much better version of Dustin Poirier that Conor was in the cage with. So it will be interesting to see how it goes if they fight a third time. So be interesting. So, but let's go ahead and talk about the co-main event real quick. To all my Bellator fans out there in the world, Michael Chandler got it done in super impressive fashion as UFC debut and what everybody, myself included, thought would be a really tough fight. Dan Hooker is triple tough, big fan. But Chandler made it look easy and got it done early. So Ben, we'll start with you. How'd you see it going?
I had Hooker winning that fight going in. I thought Hooker would have picked him apart and used his range better, but Chandler closed that like it was no problem. Very surprising. Chandler's aggressiveness that was to be expected, but Hooker's timidness, you could see it in his face and his eyes. He was just he was a little scared, it looked like. And he was just afraid, and Chandler capitalized on that, came at him with aggression and just put his lights out. I was surprised, but Chandler looked like an animal. He's put himself in the top 4 of the division. He's either fighting Gaethje, Oliveira, or Poirier. He had a great call out at the end of the fight. And yeah, Chandler's in the UFC to stay. He's a name now. He's a contender. Russ, what do you think?
I mean, it was maybe the most impressive debut like in UFC history, maybe. Like it's right up there, like him and like Anderson,
Overeem.
debuting against Levin. Yeah, Overeem too, but this was more impressive, I think. But yeah, it was really good. I had Hooker winning. I thought he was going to win hands down. I thought there was no way Chandler beats him unless, I mean, if there was one scenario, that was it. But I didn't see that happening just because we've seen Hooker take big shots from great dudes. Like he took an absolute beating from Poirier, so many shots square. And I thought he could handle Chandler's punches, and he could not handle one of them. And the game plan, it looked okay to me. Like he was circling, and landing decent kicks, but what'd he do? Like circle around him like maybe 10 times to the right. Like how many times can you circle around to the right until like Chandler times him and lands that left? Like it was just, it was devastating. That punch was amazing. I feel bad for Hooker because he's a really likable dude, but good for Chandler. He's definitely going to be a huge contender now for the title.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's cool. Like I love the, like number one, I'm a big Michael Chandler fan. Let me mention I did pick him to win. Let's not forget that. But he brings something different to the division because he's like, he's like a short, stocky wrestler, but he's incredibly explosive. So like, not only is he another great contender, but he has like a different style than anyone else in that division as well. So that division just continues to get more exciting if that's even possible. So, yeah, happy to see Chandler get that win and get on the map and be in that. So with that being said, let's kind of get into our big 155 discussion. So a lot of talk about what's next. A lot of people have different opinions. So what I'll do is I'm going to run down the rankings for you guys, and then we'll kind of talk about what we think is next for everybody and what we think should be next. And we'll kind of go from there. And I think, and we can if you want, but really for the sake of discussion, we should probably we'll just exclude Khabib from this discussion completely.
Yeah.
He still technically is the champion.
He's retired.
Yeah, he made it pretty clear he's not coming back. If he does, obviously this entire conversation is null and void and things change, but it doesn't look like he's coming back. And if he does, it certainly doesn't look like he's coming back anytime soon. And he's probably not coming back to this division to fight for the title. It'd probably be in like a super fight scenario or something like that. So 1 through 8 we'll run through, and I'll kind of get everybody's opinion. So we got Dustin is currently number 1, Gaethje number 2, Charles Oliveira number 3, Michael Chandler number 4, Tony Ferguson number 5, Conor at number 6, RDA at number 7, and Dan Hooker at number 8. So a lot going on there. But let's kind of start with what you guys think should and what you guys think will happen with this 155-pound title. Ben, you go first.
Okay. I wrote down the matchups that I believe will happen. Actually, will and should. No difference for me. I got Poirier and Oliveira fighting for the vacant lightweight title. Oliveira's on a 7-fight win streak, coming off big wins against Kevin Lee and Tony Ferguson. And then you got Poirier coming off a huge win against Conor, who people thought, and Hooker, people thought that should have been for the belt, but it wasn't. And then you got Gaethje Chandler for the title shot, for the next title shot. That's a good matchup. That's an explosive matchup. Both guys are super aggressive and just like to throw. So there's no way that wouldn't probably be fight of the night. And a fight of the year contender even. And then you got McGregor Diaz 3. It's perfect time for that. Both have been kind of inactive besides McGregor's past recent fight. And then fourth fight, I would go with Tony Ferguson versus Dan Hooker. Both are coming off losses. Both need a win. And that'd just be an exciting fight. And then RDA, I think, would be the odd man out there. But I don't believe he should be. I think he can compete with all of those guys, but I think the UFC will find another matchup for him. Maybe Ally Quinta or someone along those lines. Russ, what do you think?
Well, I think Conor has to fight Nate next. Like that's the only fight that makes sense. No, maybe Ferguson, like I said, but it should be the Nate trilogy. That's a huge fight, money fight. It's the perfect way to bring Nate back in. It's a win-win every which way. I think I think Poirier should already be champion. That should have been a title fight, 100%. Khabib's retired. He made it pretty clear. Like I don't understand why we're holding the division up. They've never done that for anybody else. Anybody else announces their retirement, the title's on the line.
It's just a way to screw Poirier over and make someone not a champion. Yeah, that's what I believe.
I don't think that theory makes sense though, because Conor was in that fight and they expected Conor to win. So like, obviously you want Conor as champion.
I think after the fact they were going to announce something, and then it didn't go their way.
I don't think so. I don't think there's a big conspiracy theory against
Dana
Poirier.
had the belt like under his chair, and like when Conor win, he was just gonna surprise him with the belt. And then when Dustin win, he's like, "Hey, someone take this to the back real quick."
Exactly. Yeah. I think there was something going on there.
I mean, if you think like it's getting crazy like that, why didn't he just slide him like some brass knucks through the octagon, like slide Conor some brass knucks to get the win? Like, no, but I think that should have been for the title. I think Poirier should be the champion, as he's saying now. He's the champ in my eyes. But I think the fight next is him and Chandler. I think they both won on the same card. They're both like on the exact same timetable. Both were incredibly impressive doing so. I think that win to me, like that violent KO of Hooker, is more impressive than the win of Oliveira's last win over Ferguson, just because Ferguson just looks so different nowadays. Like I don't put as much stock into that win as I do of, Hooker, who I still consider at near the top, getting just KO'd in the first round. So I think that's the fight to make. And then for Oliveira, I guess Gaethje, and then the winner of that would get the next shot. I suppose, but I'm really just interested in what they do between Chandler and Oliveira, who's getting the title shot against Poirier.
Mm-hmm.
So here's kind of an interesting, kind of oddball thing that I'll throw at you guys, because, if you guys watch the post-fight presser and everything like that, and this is where we're going to cause a little bit of maybe dissension. And again, big Dustin Poirier fan, and all three of us are big Dustin Poirier fans. But I think since he won this fight, he went to that press conference like he was a different dude, and he's making all these demands, and he kind of laid down the line and basically said he wants to fight Conor or Nate for the belt. And if he wants those fights, I don't think it's going to be a title fight. Like, I think he has to decide if he wants to fight for the title or if he wants another big payday super fight. Like, I don't think, I like Poirier and he's been very impressive, but I don't think he's at that level where he can just call his own shots. And, I think he's got to come to terms. Like, he flat out said he won't fight Michael Chandler. He said he'll sell hot sauce before he fights Michael Chandler, which is completely ridiculous. In my opinion, as impressive as Michael Chandler was, like that.
He can't be making that much selling that hot sauce. There's no way.
Yeah, he made it sound like he just is completely not interested in that fight.
Hey, think about it like this, Phil. Chandler's got one win in the UFC.
I understand, but we pretend that before he fought Dan Hooker on Saturday that he worked at Jiffy Lube. He has multiple wins over former UFC world champions. He's beat Benson twice. He beat Eddie Alvarez. He's a very legit dude. There's a few not, superstars on his
resume.
Didn't
Anderson get a title shot right after leaving?
Did he?
I think it was just one fight and then a title shot, wasn't it?
Yeah, he fought Rich Franklin right after.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So it's not unprecedented if you come from another big promotion.
Yeah.
And you look that impressive in your debut. I mean,
was the middleweight division stacked like the lightweight division is now, like middleweight division back then? You know what I'm saying?
No, it wasn't, but I don't know. I mean,
right. But again, I think dismissing Michael Chandler's, resume is ridiculous. And again, I would be fine if they went with Poirier Oliveira and Chandler had to fight one more time before he got a title fight. But I guess I'm of the opinion, if the UFC decides that the two guys that are going to fight for the belt are Dustin and Chandler, and Dustin says, I'm not fighting him, then Dustin just talked his way out of a title shot, because there's too many good guys. You could stick Oliveira right in there, and too bad for Dustin. You fight who the number one contender is, and you don't get to pick who the number one contender is.
No, I'm sure.
You can have your opinion, but you don't get to be like, well, I'm the number one contender, so I'm fighting this guy for the belt who isn't even ranked in the top 5.
I'm sure ridiculous. If they come to Dustin with that fight, he'll take it. He was just in a different headspace that night.
Well, I agree.
There's not a scenario in the world I can see where they book Poirier in his next fight and it's not a title fight. He should already be the champ. If he fights again and it's not a title fight, it'd be the stupidest thing. It's time to just leave, go fight in Bellator.
Hot sauce.
Go sell hot sauce, go fight in Bellator.
He should be the champ. He should be the champ, but
one championship.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not, but again, I think that comes with that one little caveat that Dustin has to fight who they deem the other top contender is. And I think that most people would be in agreement. And I think you guys are, that would have to be either Oliveira or Chandler. 100%. It has to be one of those two guys, because
he already beat Gaethje.
Yeah, exactly. And Gaethje's the man, and he's right up there. But yeah, he's a win or two out. And, when you think about, where everybody's at, Gaethje deserves to be right there. If he wins one or two fights over a top guy, that he gets to fight for the belt, just like Dustin, because Dustin just lost 2 fights ago. It's not like he's on some crazy winning streak.
That doesn't count.
It does count.
Yeah.
I mean, but all the lightweights lost to that dude. Like, I mean, and
Chandler
they
didn't
lost
lose to him.
who?
Chandler didn't lose to him.
Okay, he wasn't in the freaking company. If he was here, he would have lost to him the same
Maybe
way.
that's why Khabib ain't coming back, because Chandler's here.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, he seen he was coming. He got out. That is true. The night he debuted and weighed in, Justin's like, I'm out. Or I mean, Habib said, I'm out.
That is
Yeah,
true.
uh-huh.
So I'm being facetious about that.
Right.
But I'm just saying that, I think that the title fight has to be two of those three guys. And I would agree that Dustin should be one of them. And then they can pick from either Chandler or Oliveira. And then the other one should probably fight Gaethje in a number one contender fight. Like that.
We're all in agreement on that.
Yeah, I think that, well, we're in agreement mostly because you're pretty dead set. Like it should be Oliveira and Chandler should be fricking changing your oil because, he's had one fight. He's some fricking jabroni.
And I'm going to throw out that I'm not opposed to a Conor Poirier 3 for the title. I would not mind that.
I wouldn't mind it either.
That needs to be edited out of the video because if Conor gets a title shot, I would expect one of those three guys, and it sounds like it might be Gaethje, to jump the rail and bludgeon Conor in the walkway.
I'm just saying, if it happens, I will not complain.
No.
Conor runs UFC basically. Phil.
They're 1-1.
Agreed. But again, they can absolutely fight again. It just can't be for the title. Connor's 3-4 in his last 7 fights.
I will say this, though. If it's Dustin versus...
What, are you counting the Mayweather fight?
I think so. But even if not, still 3-3.
If it's
okay,
Dustin
and one of them is against Habib, so we don't count that. So 3-2.
Pretty soon he's going to be undefeated because you're going to...
Yeah, the Nate Diaz one was at 170. We don't count that. So he's pretty much 3-1.
Yeah, no. Oh my God, you're done.
If it's Dustin versus Nate for the title, I'm done. I'm blowing up the UFC.
Nate deserves a title shot as much as Conor does. Neither one of them have any business in a title fight.
I'll just go on the record and say,
because I love Nate Diaz. But
I will not complain if Nate or Conor gets the title shot. That would be beautiful to me.
It doesn't matter how much of a fan of somebody you are. That would be ridiculous.
That would be
just ridiculous.
Nate, at least, yeah.
And I would have no problem if either one of them got a title shot and Oliveira stabbed them in the locker room. Like he would be like Bruiser Brody style. Totally justified.
Yep.
Totally justified. So, but it sounds like we're mostly in agreement other than your guys' insane scenario, like with those top 4. But what do you guys kind of think about, you've got Tony, you've got RDA, and you've got Dan Hooker, guys. And RDA has looked real impressive at 155. I know he's currently ranked 7th, but he's a guy who could definitely work his 1 or 2 fights, work his way right into that title picture if he looks as impressive as he does in his last fight.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say who they're going to put RDA up against. He's like I don't want to use the term dark horse because RDA's definitely proven himself. He's not so much a dark horse anymore. He's a former champ and a legend, kind of. So it's just hard to say who they're going to match him up against. He's going to get matched up probably against either Hooker, Tony, or like Iaquinta. Those are like the top 10 guys. Maybe Nate even. But we'll see.
Does Iaquinta still fight, or is he just selling houses?
Yeah.
I would love to see that dude back in there. I like him a lot, but he's just very inactive.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to say, the odds are up like on a third Conor Poirier fight, and Conor's the favorite again.
Slightly, yeah, but that's strange. But I mean, is what
odds
it is.
are weird. Total sidebar. They just put up the odds for the Stipe and Ngannou 2 fight. Francis is a 2-1 favorite over Stipe, who every UFC fan declared the greatest heavyweight of all time after his last fight. He was in the best shape of his life, had maybe the best showing of his life, and he's a 2-1 underdog. You have got to be kidding me.
That's madness.
Yeah, I agree. And I know how dangerous Francis is, but still, like to have Stipe as a underdog against anyone is crazy, especially 2-1.
Yeah. Well, I think Stipe is going to win that fight, but Francis, since the loss to Stipe, has looked insanely impressive.
I won't argue with that.
Yeah.
And again, but I mean, if you go in, like Stipe crushed him the first time they fought. Like it wasn't even a competitive fight outside of the first 2 minutes. So I think people are just banking on Francis just hammering Stipe into a freaking, unscheduled nap in very short order.
There are some people that are under the impression that Ngannou was green at the time. Kind of new to, hadn't reached his peak yet.
Yeah, that's not a crazy theory.
It's really not, but I don't, and again, like it's hard to say because we don't know what goes on in training and we haven't seen him spend a whole lot of time in the cage because he made pretty short order of most guys, but I don't see what's different why like 30 seconds into that fight, Stipe doesn't have him on the ground, just punching him in the head again.
Unless
like
he's
nothing
just improved that much.
Nothing leads us to believe. And again, like I know he's retired, so it's irrelevant. But if Cormier would have won that fight and those two would have fight, like I don't see any scenario where Francis wins that fight. Like I don't see any scenario where he just doesn't get put on the ground and stay there the entire fight.
Yeah,
it seems that way. Maybe it's just because Stipe like goes into semi-retirement after every fight, so like
That's
people
true.
forget how good he is, and like that
might
affects
be
the
it.
line. Yeah, because like
something to that.
I mean, if you go back and review the tape from like a year ago when he last fought, though, man, he looked great. He looked leaner than he was before. He looked quick. He just looked great against DC.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, and he looked fantastic. So, but yeah, we'll have to see how that shakes out. But we're getting way off topic. That's a discussion for another show. But anything else you guys wanted to add to the 155 discussion?
No, I think we covered it all pretty thoroughly.
Cool. Awesome. Well, gents, today was going to be, like I said, we really wanted to have this episode dedicated to that portion of the thing. We'll be back early next week to recap the next card. Ben will be in rare form, I'm sure, when he gets to recap or preview, I should say, a card with Overeem on it. He's going to be a new level Ben that you guys have never seen before. But more exciting than that, we will have exclusive footage from our bet, if you guys remember from our last episode, because I know you all watched it. We had a pretty interesting bet where the losers of the bet had to drink a half a bottle of hot sauce and go for a mile run in Michigan in nothing but a pair of gym shorts. And it was about 15 degrees today and it got filmed. So we're going to have the footage for you guys, which is highly enjoyable for some of us, less enjoyable for others. We'll just leave it that way, but we'll let you guys see the footage next week. But until then, guys, be good, stay warm, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one.
Let me add something here at the end, like because the best bets last week, 0-3. All three people got knocked out violently. So I brought a little prop here that I got for Christmas. If you're following me, read up on this book.
Yeah.
I don't know why this book showed up in our house and like has been on the coffee table in front of me every day, but I think it's telling me a message.
Yeah, that's funny, man.
Also, I wanted to tell you guys, like, if I was thinking with my head in any way and not 100% just blinded by my heart, I would have bet maybe some money on Poirier at plus 300. So like, at least I would have had some money, like while I'm out there running naked and drinking hot sauce, instead of like dumping all my money and running naked and drinking hot sauce. Like maybe think about hedging your bets every once in a while,
That's probably a good move.
Yeah, I doubled down and I paid the price.
I feel bad about the money, but the run in the hot sauce, I don't feel bad about it. It's that you can recover from that stuff, but the money that's
money comes and goes. My feet are trashed for the week.
Yeah, it builds character. You'll be tougher next time. So
yeah,
but we will. If you guys enjoy that, we've got plenty more where that comes from. We've got some fun ideas for some bets coming up. If Overeem loses, there's no telling what Ben will be doing. So.
Oh God.
Oh
God.
All right. But with that being said, sorry, Russ, I didn't mean to exclude best bets. Obviously we'll have some new picks for people next week, but Russ is going to bring it back. All the money you lost, he's going to make it back for you and then some. So, but we'll see you guys early next week. Have a good one.
Hey, thanks for watching. See you next week.